I'm gonna teach this workshop. You guys can watch, and it's a one light workshop. We're gonna go through how to use one light, what one light can do, and let people think less about the camera and how to actually use a light. Something simple. There's a modeling light. We take the picture, we look at it, we chimp, and then we go, oh, let's move the light a little bit. Oh man, this is doing something weird. And we don't really know what's going on until we're done. This way I can like see where the light is, especially if I have like a newborn here, I can just, perfect. Now I can just shoot and not have to worry about it. It's nice. I like constant lights. But also, they're less battery. They don't last as long. This thing's supposed to last 400 flashes at full power. So imagine taking 800 pictures at half power, how long that would take you. That battery lasts forever. So we have our constant, we have our flash, we have our small flash. The only difference that we're going to deal with today, and we're not going to focus on it anymore, is the amount of power. That's it. A speed light, a small 430, 580. They say that, so everything's done in watt seconds. I want to say this one is 400 watt seconds. It would take 6 of your lights to match the full power of one of these. Does that make sense? And then we do the cost breakdown and we kind of figure out, and then hauling everything and setting it up and especially triggering wirelessly and all that stuff. Okay, but before we do this, I own a studio and my studio mentors and trains photographers, so I need to make sure that you guys know what's up with light stands. Okay, so these are light stands, and I want to go really quickly on how to set up a light stand. Has everybody used a light stand before? Okay, so there's a couple things I need you guys to know. All light stands start off like this. Always make sure everything is tight and you always open from the base. You want to make sure that the legs are as wide as possible, and usually this is flat. When this is flat, that's good. The reason I say this, I see a lot of people trying to save space or whatever, and they try to open it like so. The bottom isn't doing anything, or they go the opposite way. And what happens is, even though this will tighten, this will either break it, or if somebody does trip over it, it'll snap one of these cords, your light goes down, insurance, you lose all your business, go to jail. It happens, guys. So we're going to leave this as wide open as possible. Safety number one. They sell these things called sandbags. They're bags of sand. You put them right here in the middle, or right here on the edge. And that way it doesn't fall. This light by itself with a modifier, I never do it. But if you're in the studio and you have people walking around, make sure. And then always remember that whenever you're opening up or extending your tripod itself, your light stand, you start from the top. Don't go from the bottom, because what happens is you do this with your light on it, and your light's heavy, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, I have to do this. It's a silly thing, but everybody does that, and I'm like, can you raise that light? And they're like, sorry. Like at a wedding, my assistant will, go up, and I need it higher. Okay, sorry, and I have to bring it down, and all of a sudden it's like wobbling up there, and I'm like freaking, and I'm like, do I need to go over there? So just a little bit of things to remember. That is huge. I know that was kind of a little point out, but that is huge in my world. And then always hold the base of the light, drop it onto you feel it, never let go until it is secure. Money. All right, that's our safety. And then the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is modifiers. So does everybody know what a modifier is or what that means? Mm-hmm. A modifier changes your light. So, I'm going to have you turn off the other light in a second, David. Not yet. So, a lot of these lights have modeling lights, and we're going to kind of use that to our benefit today. Cool. This is called bare bulb. No bulb. This is the same thing as using a speed light without a modifier on it. This is the same thing with using this thing directly on my face. The more direct your light is on your subject, the harsher the light is. And what that means, I'm going to turn it off. Do it. What that means is, can you guys see a shadow right here? Mm-hmm. If you were to shoot a woman like this, and then give her the picture, do you think she'd like it? No. The reason is that It's a harsh light. There's no modifier. There's nothing softening the light. Joe, come on.
Oh, I'm coming for this. Thank you.
The key's in there, and then it's all stuff around
Okay,
needs.
thank you.
Bye. Merry Christmas. We're opening up our new studio, so I'm trying to do everything I want right now. So, what would this light be cool for? Because there's no bad light. We just have to figure out what we want. Tell me, what application would this be cool for? Who would you shoot in this light?
A man.
A man. Yeah, I like that. A man, a woman, a man. A man, right? Why? What does this do to me?
Make you look like a man.
It's gritty. It's harsh lighting, right? If you're a filmmaker, this would be a good light for maybe getting something with like a cop with a flashlight in your face. This is a harsh light. So if you had a woman come in and say, I want you to do my boudoir pics, I need a glamour shot, would this be the light? Good. What I'm going to teach you guys today is how to break down things and how to look at light a little bit differently, because it's not hard, I promise you. Harsh light, right? So what would I have to do to make this light a little more presentable, to be able to use with my client? What could I do to this thing?
Soften it.
Soften it by putting something in front of it. Luckily, the camera industry has made thousands of things for it. The easiest way to soften it is going to be with a reflector. I see one right here. You need a reflector? What about you have one that's open? Yeah, they're all open. Is this too big? No, I just couldn't pull that over. Thank you. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so this is just a reflector known as a scrim. So if I have my face right here, and I hope this is not too dark, but if I put this right in front of my face, it'll soften the light. I have to get closer to you guys. Do you see how that kind of changes a little bit? So remember, I'm just using a modeling light. The flash itself will be way more powerful, especially when you're shooting it. Okay, so we usually don't have somebody to hang out and hold this for us. So I've actually brought in one of my modifiers, and this is how we're going to talk about change. So one of the things that I love doing, and since we're talking about one light, is I like taking my light stand, one softbox, that's it, and my model. I like to just take this, walk around, put it down, and start shooting. Because I like to walk around, and I like to bring people with me. So what I have here, guys, and they don't sell this here, but I'll talk to them about it, but it's a Westcott Rapid Box. It's a soft box. All soft boxes are kind of the same. They're called a soft box because they produce soft light. Keep that simple, okay? Inside is a reflective surface. This is a level of diffusion, right? That's a level of diffusion. This is a level of diffusion. And I have another one that goes over the top for another level of diffusion. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions here as I put this baby on. Maybe I won't put you on this. Ooh, that scared me. Okay. Now we're looking at light again in my face. I'll put it to the side here. Harsh or soft right now?
Soft.
Does that feel softer to you than what we had, right? Okay. Notice how the light is also getting darker. So the more levels of diffusion you put on, if you were shooting, you would need more power. Does that make sense? So if this was just a speed light and I put something in front of it and you were at max power, you'd have to figure out how to get more power out of that speed light. If I put another thing of diffusion, you'd have to figure out how to get more power and so forth. So that's why having something with more power, even though you don't use it all the way, is always beneficial. Softer or harsher?
Softer.
Softer? Cool. I love this thing.
Wow.
Super soft, right? So, this is a strip box. Sometimes you would use an octabox or a square one. But if you had a woman client come in, would you do more levels of diffusion or less levels of diffusion if they want like this buttery glamour look?
More.
More. The more the better. And what happens is, it'll soften the shadows on their face. It'll take away it'll fill everything in that needs to be filled. Let's call it acne, let's call it wrinkles, let's call it triple chins. Cool. So do you know why people, when they shoot with their cell phones, they always shoot up and then have as much light on their face? Because the more light you have on your face, the more everything gets filled in. Does that make sense? The further away I go, everything starts to not fill in anymore and you start to see the gritty. So I've always said, depending on the age of my client, what their goal is, that's how many lights I'm going to put onto them or how close the light's going to be. Always remember that the closer you are to the light source, the softer the light is. The further away you are, the harsher it is. Super simple. So if you're shooting a client, a person, a dog, a cat, and you're getting too much shadow on the ground, too much shadow on their face, what's the easiest thing you guys can do?
Move them closer to the light.
Move them closer to the light. Fills in everything. That's it. With your speed light, same thing. Even if you have the speed light right on my face right here, the further away, the more shadows are going to hit. The closer I get, the less shadows. So if you're in a pinch, it's awesome. I love speed lights, by the way. They're like my home. I have lots of them everywhere. I have too many speed lights. Perfect. This is a strip box. I'm actually going to take you guys into the other room real quick. I'm going to show you guys a couple more modifiers and then explain to you guys what they do, and then we'll bring you in. I was going to bring everything in here, but that's just too much work. So follow me. Yes, sir. Now leave it off. Leave it off. Perfect. So the only other thing I'm going to show you guys with this is what we call an egg crate. So I want you to think of the barn doors again. Imagine if this light, if you're shooting a little more controlled. So say I have a gray backdrop in the background and I want to make it black. And the way I make it black is by reducing the amount of light that hits that backdrop. Do you guys understand that part yet? So I can go into that in a little bit too. We have what we call an egg crate. This baby, my beam is kind of narrowed right here at me. You guys can kind of see that. So it's hitting me in this direction. What the light's doing is the light's coming out this way, and it's going this way. But what if I want it to go this way? What if I didn't want any light to go over here or light to go over here? There's a way to narrow that beam without having to buy an additional softbox. And each softbox comes with, well, it doesn't come with it. You have to buy it. Because again, we like buying stuff. So this just Velcros onto here. And now, instead of my beam going out like this, it comes in like this. So if you're shooting a glam shot and you want your model just to kind of look down right here and just light this part of her face, you can do that without any of this being hit. Does that make sense? It just narrows down my beam. I love this because it adds more contrast to my image. It makes everything a little harsher. For the speed light side of it, if you guys look at this Rogue flash benders right out here, see all those things with the 5 speed lights?
Mm-hmm.
All those are everything I just talked about in speed light form, which is freaking crazy that they have those now. So you can kind of see the softbox right there with the baby grid, right? So you have the light already, you just get that, and you theoretically have this, but what's the only difference? Less power. That's it. And how can we get more power out of our speed lights? What do you guys think? Like as far as camera settings, what are a couple things you can do? Give it to me, Danny. What can you do to get more power out of that speed light without upping the speed light? Say it's max power. What can you do in your camera?
We'll use your shutter and ISO.
Shutter, ISO, and your f-stop, right? Your high-speed sync. So if I can get my f-stop down to 4 to 2, all of a sudden more power is coming out of this thing. Does that make sense? But also, if you're shooting outside in the daylight, more power is coming from everything else too. That's a whole other world. Cool. Grid. I love me some grids. So, what I want to talk to you guys about now is, who here thinks that you cannot create, you guys should know the answer to this, create epic images using just one light? Do you think a lot of stuff that you see in the studio is multiple lights or just one light? If you were to do a commercial shoot, if you were to walk into somebody's house and they're like, I need you to take pictures of this shoe to sell to Nike because they need it to go in the magazine, would you assume that to bring like everything you have, or can you bring one light and kill it?
I think you could do one light.
Yeah. I mean, like sometimes I get lazy and I just bring one light. But like, I'm by myself, I don't want to carry a bunch of lights. One light photography is kind of like the thing for me. This is not mine. So I'm going to show you guys a few images. We're going to deduce them. Deduct. Oh, Jesus. It's hot in here. Is it hot?
A little bit.
The heat just came on.
I know. Don't look at my password.
I like that one, man. Was that planned?
By planned? No, the rain, I mean.
I mean, did you?
Yeah, we went out for this.
Yeah.
We stood out there for 10 minutes waiting for them to walk out. Remember that? That's the one he shot me with. And like, yeah, we were outside and we're like, yeah, we'll go outside now and come on out. And then we're like watching them into the window, like the opposite way. And they're just talking to people and we're in the rain and we're like trying to put bags over ourselves. We got one umbrella. I'm just soaked. But we got them out there. We had an umbrella. He actually dropped the umbrella from right there. So what I want to do with you guys is I want to break down these images, right? And then we're going to get into our next thing because it's important that you guys do this. This is how I learned. And I will promise you that every single image, I'll tell you how it's done, every single image is done with one single light. Some are one speed light and some are just this exact light. And if you guys want to mimic these, I'm happy to tell you how much I spent for all that. That Interfit S1 is $650, comes with a battery, charge it in, it comes with everything you need. All you have to do is buy some modifiers and you're good to go. You can get modifiers for as low as $50 for this thing. Theoretically, you can even just buy a white umbrella and there's an umbrella bracket right here. You just put an umbrella in and an umbrella becomes a wide softbox. You can't control the light as much because it kind of goes everywhere. But if you're shooting newborns, boudoir, and you just want to fill a room with light like a window, that's perfect. That's all you need. Okay. Where's the light in this picture? Where's my assistant in this picture?
Where were you, Jennifer?
Because she's in here. So where's my light?
Behind him?
Right. Tell me about the light. What do you guys think? What kind of modifier do I have on it? deduce this with me. What do you guys think? Remember, I'm using this.
Right.
Do I have a modifier?
I don't think
I
so.
think there's one.
Can you see the modifier?
No, I don't think you have one.
Bare
I
bulb,
think you have one.
right? We're bare bulbing this.
Yeah.
My assistant is standing right there, like this, in the back.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm powering, and I'm just taking a picture, I'm powering, and we're not really going to go into camera settings today. We can if you guys want, it's just I don't want to get too much. I want you to kind of play a little bit. But how I do things in my camera, I go very simple. I make sure that my camera is one stop under. Do you guys know what that means? It's okay if you don't on anything. So you guys know in your camera there is a little chart right here, right? Chart. And this is a chart that you look in when you're taking a picture, and it's kind of at the bottom and the things like going left and right all the time. The 0 means that the camera is saying, hey, that's perfect exposure. Like the light that's coming in my camera looks great. It can be tricky, but we try to go off of it and just kind of base it off of that. This is -1, -2, +1, +2. If your dot is over here, your camera's going, there's a little bit too much light coming in. There's a lot of too much light. And if it's blinking over here, they're like, bro, like, what are you doing? Are you even like looking at your settings right now? Your ISO might be too high. Your f-stop might be too low. Or sometimes, usually your shutter is like 3 seconds and you didn't realize you hit the shutter down. If it's going this way, your camera's like, hey, I need you to adjust something to get more light. It's looking a little dark for me. Super dark, going on black. Like if you take the picture, it'll go on black. Does that make sense? So that's what that means. What I do for any shoot that I do is I always want my camera -1. Remember what I said, what happens if your image is a little bit underlit? What happens to your subject when it's underlit? That's that gritty that we were talking about, right? If I don't have enough light on my face or my subject, you're going to start to see pores. You're going to start to see detail that maybe you don't want to see. And you're going to have to go into Photoshop and edit that. And if you guys do editing, you know that when your image is underexposed, when you up the exposure, it's the easiest way to clean up the skin, right? Well, I treat my background as skin. If I were to overexpose this image and go one stop over, what would happen to my background? What would happen to the detail? I'd lose all that detail. So I want the acne of the background, the pores of the background to show. So I made sure that when I was looking at my camera before I took a picture, I was just adjusting my settings within reason to get one stop under. And if I took the picture without the flash, the only thing that would have changed is you would not see this part. You would still see all of this exactly how it was. All the market lights, not the rain either because the rain's by the flash, but you would see like these little lines right here. Not this because that's the flash. And then all I did from there, put the flash at half power, took a picture, looked at my camera and go, too much light, drop my light down, took another picture, perfect light, too much light, not enough light, and then go up and down. That's all I did. I don't want you guys to think of anything else. I wasn't looking at numbers. I wasn't going, this thing's at 5, this thing, I need to get it to 4, I need to get it to 3.8 because of the ratio and blah, blah, blah. We don't need to do that anymore. If it's too much light, what do?
Power it down.
Power down your light. If you don't have enough light, what do you do if you can? Increase it. And that's why I always put my light at half, because it's easier for me to go up and down. This light, I have the trigger that goes with it, so I can do everything from my camera, from my hand. But sometimes you don't have that, and you have an assistant, which is my assistant's back there. So if mine wasn't working for any reason, I could have been like, Jen, power up, hit that thing like 3 times, 4 more times. And we used to do that all the time. I used to just yell and yell, but we have walkies. That's how we do things. One light, bare bulb, that's it. It picks up all of the rain that's happening right there. It wasn't, I mean, it was raining, but it wasn't crazy. That makes it look a lot crazier than it was. Look, her hair was fine.
Did you expose for the light bulbs?
I exposed for the ambient. So I took the ambient light, the lights that's there. So I didn't point it at a light bulb, but I stood right where I was standing, and then I just exposed that way. So I just literally, because it's a max shutter speed of 200, and we can get into that in another class, but within reason is what I say. So basically I just made sure that whatever I did for my exposure, I held my camera up without any lights or anything, and I just went like do-do-do-do-do until it got one stop down. And then power goes up or down. That's it.
How did you get exposure on their face? Like
That is
front side?
that is bounce light, and that is editing.
Yeah.
Other door. That is the orange color is because market lights are still behind me. Girls, see you later.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye. Have fun.
Because if you try to expose for them, it will blow out the light bulb.
So don't expose for them. You expose for the whole thing.
Remember, take a
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you can always tweak it. You know, I mean, like if I wanted the background to show up more, I would just lower my shutter, and that would show a little bit more. I'd have to be a little more steady. But super simple. Super simple. I promise you guys. You're going to see a running theme here. How many lights for this? Trick question. How many lights did I use? One. Remember, what's the workshop today, guys? One light workshop. No change. That's why it's a trick question. So I want you guys to look at this image. This is Justine and Jim wedding I shot a couple months ago. Where's the light?
To her left.
Right here, right? Same light, but I'm using a giant octabox. Do you guys, why is there more shadow on him than on her? See the wall? See this wall right here? Why is there more shadow there on him than her?
Because he's close to the wall.
He's close to the wall, but he's also
Farther away.
farther away from the light. Does that make sense? Remember what I said? If you want less shadows, what do?
Move him closer.
Move them closer together, the light or the subject. She has less, she still has some shadowing here, because I'm still, you know, it's at nighttime, I have one light, but she's definitely softer all right here. Like all right here is very soft light. There's some blurry happening here because I'm shooting at a really low shutter, maybe at 1/60th, and that was my goal. So all I did was, I had her dance. I just said, just start dancing, and I just took picture after picture after picture after picture. And my flash just kept going boom, 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 until I got the shot that I want, made her giggle, made her laugh, but just one light. You can tell it's a low shutter at 1/60th, 1/50th of a second because of this, and because of this, how bright this is. It's almost kind of like sparkling out. Now, why isn't she blurry? Why is it dress blurry, but not her?
Because of
Flash freezes. If there's one thing you guys can remember today, flash freezes. If you have a subject running, I don't know, you guys know what running is. If you have a person running and you want to stop motion on them, but maybe keep everything else going, you target the flash directly on them. If you put it right on their face, that'll freeze, their body will still be in blur. If you have a bunch of people running and you only want one to stop, flash on them directly, maybe with a gridded light that targets them directly. So my light is hitting this, it's hitting all this. This is the center of my light right now. This is all spilled. It's not hitting this at all. This is dark. This has a little tiny bit, if you guys can even tell, but the light's still hitting this. Right here is moving a little bit. The flash freezes. When I shoot reception dancing photos, I have a speed light, I have a modifier on it, a little softbox, a mini one, and I just run around and I just and as people are dancing, going crazy, I'm shooting at like 1/40th of a second when people should be blurring out, but they're frozen. They're frozen, they look awesome, it's super cool, and because flash freezes. If you're using flash and it doesn't freeze, it's because you don't have enough flash on them. And if they look yellow, then you have too much. Bart Simpson. How many lights for this, guys? Cool. This is that plump jack. This is exactly like that first image. So tell me about this light. What am I using? Tell me about the modifier.
No modifier.
No modifier. Bare bulb. A couple reasons we know. You cannot see it. I'm not a big Photoshopper. If you guys follow my work, I use Lightroom for everything. So I don't Photoshop. I don't make an image that I have to go in and take out a softbox. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in camera. So this is a 30-second edit, and it looks exactly like this in camera. The only thing I did was I dodged and burned this a little bit in sections, changed the exposure, changed the color, and that's it. Behind them, four heads together, one light, boom. One stop under, same thing. I was super far away, got one stop under, pop my flash. Done. Let's go through a couple more. How many flashes, guys?
One.
Perfect. So tell me about this light now that you guys are looking at it, because this is a little tricky and I'll kind of go into it with you. I will tell you that I'm using the same light. I am using a modifier.
It's to his right.
Yeah, it's to, yeah. So camera left, our right, his right. So on this side. Tell me about it. Look at the shadows on their face. Do you think I'm using a full modifier? Am I adjusting things?
Well, she has less shadow.
So my light is pointing directly at her, or it's flatter on her. Does that make sense? So I have the light pointing in a direction that is hitting her a little bit harder and not really him. I am using a octabox, but I'm not using any diffusers inside. Does that make sense? And you can tell this because they're lit very, very evenly. The light is spread amazingly well, but these shadows are dark. So if I took this picture, if you guys took this picture and you were like, and first, this is for a CrossFit gym, so I wanted this gritty shot. If you guys took this picture and you were like, oh my God, I hate that shadow. Like, I hate this. Like, I don't like this shadow right here. I don't like how this is super dark. What could you do to your modifier? How would you soften that light?
Add more to the modifier.
Add more filters, add more dimension, add more white things. Right? Oh, Jesus.
So was that up high, Jeramie, or is it?
Yeah. So we just go backwards. So the light is, so the shadow's like this.
Yeah.
So the light is like this high. And it's a distortion within the lens, you know, so obviously it's not like super high. This bar right here is probably something I could touch. So my modifier was probably like something like this. My go-to light is always this 45-degree angle. If you guys are, you're starting to see that. Does that make sense? Pretty easy? Okay. We're gonna go through this until the break. Ooh. This was shot at Hatch on El Bedo. That's a bed in Spanish. Where's the light? This always is camera right, camera left if you guys, as you're looking at it.
Camera right?
We can tell that. Why?
Shadows.
Look at this. I mean, there's nothing here, right? The light's coming this way. I mean, if you can see his eye right here, you can see a little bit of a catch light in his eye. We have the light from here shooting this way. I'm shooting like this, if that makes sense. My light's low and going this way. If I had my light higher up, it would fill in this more. I only cared about the guy in this image. I only cared about him. So I lit him. Whatever spill happened on her happened on her. So I wanted to make sure that I lit half his face up. Calvin Klein model, Tom Cruise portrait, Willie Nelson portrait, something very just dude, right? And dudes are always cool with half lit faces. And just not smiling, not cool. So he was my focus, and I had her just kind of play. One light, and then one level of diffusion. Because we can still see some detail in here. If I did no diffusion, or if I did a grid, what would happen to this part?
It'd be darker.
Darker, almost non-existent. And that's an option you guys have. Again, one light. Somebody will look at this and be like, bro, like you have to, you know. This could easily be done with a speed light, easily done with constant light as well. You just have to modify and adjust it.
So the height of the light in that one, was it?
It was low. They're on a bed. So I have it low and actually shooting straight at them. Yeah, just low and straight at them. Something kind of like this. So the light's going there. So if I were to tilt it down, it would light up more of them. And then what we do sometimes is what we call feathering the light, where the subject might be here, but I would turn the light a little bit more. And what that does is it gets softer light hitting me. I always put it in the perspective of a hose in water. If you were to spray a dying plant, you would never spray it directly on. That's too harsh. You would put your thumb on it and turn it a little bit and get a little bit of water onto the side of it. That's called feathering the light. And that makes it softer, makes it feel better. Although I'm sure plants can feel anything, you know. How many lights?
What?
Where is it? So look at her knees. You see like that hot spot? Hot spot on her knees. So the light theoretically hitting that closer, right? The light is camera right. Very high shooting down. One light. I'm using an octabox with a grid. And we know that because of all these harsh, look how harsh that shadow is. It's like hitting here, her foot, and then just, it's super, super dark. And I know that it's a grid because of how dark it is. If I didn't use a grid, or if I just used more modifiers, I could get the same look, but all of this would theoretically be light gray or possibly non-existent. Does that make sense? Starting to kind of see it now? So here's my trick on all these photos, guys. I don't move my light. I move my subjects. I see a lot of people in the studio, outside, they're getting ready for a shoot, and they put their model there, and then they do stuff like this, and then they go, shit. They do this, and then they go back, and they move the light all the time. My light is stuck. I pretend it's like super glued, and I take my model and I direct her on where to go, on what to do. If you guys follow a photographer named Neil Lockhart in Reno, he's an amazing landscape photographer. He doesn't let the light dictate itself. He will take flashlights. He will do long exposure and he will paint flashlights on trees, different colored gels. It's the same exact concept. Not letting you create the image that you need to create. One light, and this right here, you guys guess what that is?
The sun?
The sun.
So how you get that in the back of her head?
This is all sun.
Okay.
So the sun's coming here and it's bouncing throughout. So, I mean, you guys know the building. This is a little building. So we have sun coming through.
Okay.
This might be a reflection of sun, but this is in no way my light. The other question I want to ask you guys is, remember how I said that the more powerful a flash, the more it can overpower the area? I have my flash at a really, really high setting. Let's say full power. So if I have my flash at full power, that means I have to change my settings on my camera for like full daylight sun, right? If you guys were shooting in the sun, you wouldn't shoot it at like 1/20th of a second, would you? You would shoot that like at 1/4000th, 1/8, you know. So I have to change my settings. My f-stop here might have been f10, f12, f13. My ISO was always at 100. And I would have my shutters probably at 20 or 1/200 maxed out. And this was probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So everything looks super dark because my flash is the main light source that I have coming in. The sun is still super powerful. So the sun's always going to beat out my flash unless I get more light on it. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Cool. That's why it's so dark everywhere else. This is at Rancho, San Rafael Park. Everybody knows Rancho. Where's my light?
Camera right.
Perfect. A little bit more than 45 degrees on her. We can tell by this shadow. With a softbox, and I just know this, without any modifiers inside of it. And then a film edit. Super simple, guys. Where's my light? I did something different on this. What did I do differently?
Silhouette.
Silhouette. So the other two were kind of silhouette too. Remember the rain? And then the pump jack one? Silhouette. What did I do with those lights? Where did I position those lights?
Right behind it.
Right behind them.
Is this at the wall?
This is at the wall. So you notice how there's not a glow hitting me, a burst? How do we create a silhouette? So a silhouette, all it is the background is brighter than the foreground. Whatever's in the foreground goes black. Does that make sense? If I can make this background brighter, anything in front of it's going to be darker. Unless I put a light in front of it, but we're doing one light. We could play with it and add another light here and all of a sudden light them up and do something cool. But I only have one light. So bare bulb, this flash, low behind them somewhere. My assistant's probably back there. And I have them just point the light right up there. You want to get crazier with this? Put a gel in front of your light. You can turn this white wall green, blue, red without Photoshop. A cool thing to do with you could do it with this too. If you had the flash behind one of them, I could have my groom here and my bride here. And then they both silhouette, maybe dancing. I could shoot through these. And then the lower I go on anything there, it'll change the perspective. So I shot this kind of straight on, but this is by the bathrooms at Rancho, if you guys remember. So there's a little boardwalk that kind of comes up. But if I could have gotten low, I could have shot through here and then got these really cool black plants coming up. But again, one light. And you guys know where this is, right? This is just a wall next to the ranger station. You guys can try that tonight. You can try it on this wall. If I have this wall and I put a light on that wall, anything in front of it would just go silhouette. Using one light, something a little bit different. And you can do this any time of day. It's just harder throughout the day if you have a light, a power that doesn't really work. But I will tell you at night, speed lights are totally fine for anything because it's how much light, right? I mean, if I took this out during the day, it would be a lot harder to tell that light's on, but right now we're dark, so it's easier to tell where the light's coming from. This is at Nevada Automobile Museum. Same girl as 2 pictures ago, Alora. Where's my light?
Camera left.
Camera left, harsh modifier, that's it. Let's do a couple more here. I'm going to show you guys something. So I posted this on my social media a couple years ago, actually. Videographer, so he's not with me. My assistant, me. These gels were done by me, but Nevada Museum of Art has gels that already come up now, so we don't have to bring those anymore. I just did speed lights and I put gels on them. That's what it creates. So with them, it's only one light. I just made it a little crazier. Me with my camera. VAL is voice activated light stand, which is a person. I put these on like or Facebook groups like Strobus.com, F-Stoppers, and I get like 10,000 likes because everybody's like, you're hilarious. But this, believe it or not, was only done with speed lights. So I have a modifier here. My speed light, very similar to yours, is right in there. And it's a softbox made for speed lights. And I created that. So if we walk through this image and how I created it, the first thing I did was make sure my background is 1 stop under, right? 1 stop under, which is 1/40th f4 ISO 100. So with those settings on my camera, the image looked like this in the background. Once I added so this is a really wide lens. So if you guys are looking at this, it looks like she's on top of them, but she's not. I'm shooting it with a, oh god, I don't have my lens. It's a 16-35 at the time, which is really, really wide. So she is ended up behind me, but the flash doesn't show up on my image at all.
What time of day is this?
This is sunset time. So the moon, this is the
And
moon.
you're still using ISO 100?
So I needed to get my stop, I needed to get it down to -1 stop. Does that make sense? So I needed to get that as dark as I could without going too dark where I lose all the detail. Sometimes when you get too dark, it just goes black if you go too bright. So yeah, so when I was inside, I wasn't. It was higher. But in order to get this set up, I made ISO 100 because I knew I needed to get as dark as I could. If for some reason ISO 100 was too dark, then that's the easiest thing for me to raise. But this is only because I was using flash. If this was natural light, my ISO's up. Does that make sense? So my flash is what's creating. So with these settings right here, just imagine the couple's not there. And that's what my landscape would look like.
The clouds.
Right. And the clouds, again, are the acne, the pimples of the world, right? So in order for me to get the detail on that, I had to underexpose that area. And the only thing that I did now after this was I had her on a speed light, and this one was different. This one wasn't controlled by me. I had a trigger on it, but I couldn't control the trigger or the power. So I have a trigger on top. There's a trigger on this. And all the trigger does is it wirelessly tells my camera to flash when I take that picture. Flash, flash, flash. So I took a picture. It wasn't bright enough. So I said, hey, Tay. She's very mad that Trump is president. I don't let my camera think, and the reason is anytime you do an automatic setting, your camera is a computer. It can only do what it's set to do. This wall right here. Sorry, I want you to imagine this wall. I want you to imagine you're shooting a bride, right, on this white wall. And she's standing right here, and you're right there. She's wearing a white dress on a white wall, and you let your camera think. What's your camera gonna think about this image already? What?
White is white.
White is white, and it's too bright.
Yeah.
So if you let your camera think and you take the picture, you look at the picture, like, what the frick? It's super dark. The white is like perfectly exposed, but your bride's gone. Now let's take it into skin tones. you're shooting a white bride, white dress with a black groom in a black suit, and you let your camera think. You take the picture and you're like, oh my God. And it's happened. And so that scenario, when I go on like to Facebook wedding photographers, to SLR Lounge, that is the number one thing that people post and go, what did I do wrong? How did I do this? Same thing works with a flash. Because when you're in flash, even if you set your settings, TTL is just saying through the lens, what comes through the lens, what should I push out, how much power should I push out? So you do this, and all of a sudden you set your camera, maybe you set to these settings, but then your flash goes, whoa, that is way too bright, I'm gonna put out a little bit of light. And you're like, no, I need more light. And so you end up having to change it anyways. So I just don't let my camera think. Oh, your camera is designed to look at light and color, 18% gray. Once it finds those two things, it calibrates it to get it to where you need. So if you're shooting in an orange room, it wants to change it to a blue shot to get it balanced. But what if I want an orange shot? So I don't let my camera think. It makes it a lot easier for me. Cool.
That was a good question.
Does anybody want to take a break? Or are you good?
We're good?
Yeah, oh, shit.
I'm
Does anybody, nobody smokes or anything?
good.
No, I was-
Nice.
I feel bad. I'm like I'm just talking. Okay. Well then, F it. No breaks! YouTube. I don't know, I think this is cool. I like this light a lot. I think this will be cool for the studio. So we have, in our studio, we have one area for natural light, but we don't have others, but I'm trying to teach people how to use soft boxes the real way that you're supposed to light up rather than just like...
So, I was talking to Ron about boudoir.
Mhm.
And he was saying that, over there at the old building, 11 o'clock, best time, the sun is always... You're saying that if you have the right light, you can do
Midnight,
boudoir,
you can do it right now.
and you get that same soft light coming in.
So let's talk about window theory. Look at this window right here. So if you guys were natural light photographers, can you guys see me? I feel like I just turned all the lights off and nobody can see me. So I want you guys to, what? Turn. I'm not bothering you. So, this is mine. I'll take it back. I don't know what that was. If you guys were natural light photographers, shooting boudoir, shooting babies, you would be on this window all day, every day, right? You're relying on the soft light to come in, but there's a couple things you have to battle. The amount of light and then the quality of light. If the sun's coming directly in there, you might not be able to use it. But let's say the light is perfect. What would make this light perfect for a great day of shooting using a window? Explain a couple things to me. What would you be looking for if you were to walk in this room and saw this one light source? What about it makes it great for boudoir shooting, newborn shooting, natural light shooting? Give me a couple examples.
Soft,
Soft? What does that mean?
cloudy.
Cloudy day outside maybe? Direct light's not coming directly in, right? Maybe you're on the opposite side, maybe the sun's on this side, the light's coming on this side, maybe the window's over here, kind of thing. Soft light. What about the size of the window? Would that dictate anything?
Mhm.
What if it was a small window? What does a small window do? It makes it contrasty or less contrasty?
More contrast.
More contrast, right? So not good for boudoir unless you get somebody really close to that window, right? So again, the closer you are to the theme, the softer it is, the further away. So, right, big, light, that makes it amazing for portraiture, amazing for boudoir because it's a soft, even light. Why can't I get a soft box or a parabolic umbrella or a giant umbrella and just do this amazing soft light coming in? And remember what I said? Don't move the light, move your subject. So imagine in any studio, imagine in here, it's dark right now. If I had freaking, who's hot right now? Girl. I just know Disney characters. If I had like Jennifer Aniston, is she still a thing? If I had Jennifer Aniston, is she still a thing? If I had her in here and she's like, Jeramie, I need you to do a portrait shoot of me for Vogue, but it has to be right now. And she's like, but I need natural light. And first off, I'd be like, shut up. Why are you doing this to me? But I would need a giant light. I would need an even light modifier. So giant softbox, lots of diffusion in it with power, because every time I flash, I want that soft light. So if I take that light and put it in place of a window, or put it right here in this corner, and just constantly pound that light, then that theoretically is natural light. Wouldn't you agree? As long as you have your settings right. The closer you move your client to the light source, the brighter she's going to be, the further away. So you would just adjust your settings as if you're out in the sun. As if the clouds were going by and then not going by and then going by and not going by. As you're shooting, you're kind of like, shit. Same thing. If you move her closer, just be prepared to change that light source. Or change your settings on your camera to get more light in. Does that make sense? That's all it is, man. And it's great practice to know, yes, it's easier to shoot natural light 24/7. But like I said, what if you can't? What if you want to do a day of boudoir? Why is it that we do boudoir, because it's Valentine's Day, when there's no sun out? People are always like, yeah, I just rent a hotel and then I do my boudoir out of there. And I'm like, great, but you have to check in at 3, the sun's gone at 4. You can only do boudoir next morning. If you're a natural light photographer, you miss out on that the whole time you're supposed to be there. Does that make sense? Like it's crazy to me. And these are natural light photographers. I'm like, well, just buy one of these, one modifier, and you're good. You're done. You can shoot 24/7. You can shoot newborns. Just remember, like newborns, the closer the light is to them, the softer the light is. So newborns, you get the light right on top of them, and you just, and the closer it is, the less power you have to use. So if people are like, yeah, sometimes a flash messes with the baby's brain. I'm like, some lady told me that. Because we were having a Facebook battle, and she was like, I can only shoot at this time of day. And I'm like, well, just get us, I'm like, I'll help you set up. And she's like, yeah, but like the flash will mess up with the baby's brain or something. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, the puppies, they're like, it'll mess with the puppy's brain. Because they like, I can't shoot in studio. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. This is done with a Yongnuo 2 speed lights with a Westcott rapid box that holds 2 speed lights. That's it. So I had more power to work off of this. I was shooting their reception. This was a short wedding that hired me for a few hours. They went and did dinner. Me and my assistant didn't know we were allowed to eat, so we just hung out outside while they ate. And then we had to finish the cake shot and all that. And they're like, did you eat? Like, I was like, right here. They're like, did you eat? And we're sitting there like, no, we're cool, but we're starving. Because it was in a restaurant, so I had to go outside. This is across the street from the Carson train station. They got married at the train station. This was the sky. And I sent her back in. I went in the back of my truck. I started setting up my lights as fast as I could. This was going away. I'm like, go get them now. I don't care what they're doing. Bring them out. We were done. We were leaving. So she brought them out. I had a quick pose, took 2 shots. What was the first thing I did for this to get it right in camera?
One stop button.
One stop button. And that gave me the acne, the gross stuff in the back. Any brighter of my camera, this would all start to get whiter or brighter. Or, when you're shooting and during the day and you shoot the sky, all of a sudden it's just white. I don't want that. I want the dirty. It's not my stuff. Cool. This is another example here. This was done at a restaurant next to Ross Manor. It's not a restaurant anymore. I think they do like painting or something. But it was open, so we did that. Obviously not the exact shot because she has clothes on here. But shy, but not so shy model. Toe zone, so happy, sick ass brick. But this is my light setup. So this is my old setup. I had the Einstein, which is like a glorified alien V light, which is what everybody uses. We use it at Hatch as well. And I have a battery here, Vagabond Mini, that just attaches and it can charge anything, but it's made for photographers. And then just a small octabox. One light right onto there, and that's all I did. I didn't move the light. The whole shoot, I had her just moving around. If she went away from the light, it would light up a certain area. So the light, all I did was just play and light up this area right here. ISO 100, f-stop f8. So my f-stop was high because I had a lot of power going on in there. Also, I wanted to see more detail. And I shot at 85 mil, so I was pretty far. I was probably at this distance. The 85 brings it forward. Starting to make a little more sense putting it together. So when I'm in studio or on location, there's a couple things that I do, and I'm going to give you guys some cheats. Because I don't like to think too much, and I've kind of gotten away with having my settings set up without me having to think too much. Whenever I shoot with a strobe, my ISO is always 100. This is not high-speed sync talk. We'll do a whole high-speed sync class later on. That's just gonna kill everybody. My ISO is always 100. Okay, so know that whenever you pull a flash out, if your ISO is at 100, you're a third of the way there. My f-stop is always at f8. And my shutter is always at 1/100th of a second. So we have 1/100th, we have ISO 100, f8. If I have those three settings, and this is going to be for all of your headshots, your creative shoots, your stuff where you need to show detail. Everybody understands the difference between f2 and f8 in here? Does anybody not? It's okay if you don't. Okay, everybody knows the difference of the f-stop. So at f8, I want to make sure that I have the detail in my subject, which is why I do that. All corporate headshots, anything creative, I'm shooting girl eating donuts sexily, then I want to make sure that I get that in detail. So that's why I have the f8. If I'm shooting something different where I need the f-stop down, everything else changes, but we're not going to talk about that today. So you get into the studio, and you can do newborns this way at f8, you can do boudoir at f8 at normally, and then if you want to get creative, then you just adjust your lighting. But this is at f8, and if I have my camera settings done, what's the only thing I have to change if my lights, if it's too bright or too dark in the image?
Hour of the light.
Oh.
That's it. Right? So if I took this picture, 90% of photographers would start playing with their camera if it was too bright. Right? If I took this picture and it was too bright, they would go, and just start doing this. I just go up to the light and I turn it down, up, move it farther away, move it closer. That's all I do. And then I get the light that I need. It's very, very simple. And that's the beauty with one light. I only have one thing to deal with. Does that make sense? That's your cheat. If you go into the studio and do headshots tomorrow, camera at that, put your lights where you want to, power up, power down. Make sure your modifiers are right and all that stuff, but like, that's all you have to do. Same with on location. Kind of same time of day. You guys all know this as the Pioneer Center? Is that what it's called? Okay. I had a second thought. Like, what's this place? Super cool, awesome architecture. They got married. The reception has a Wild River Grill across the street. ISO 100, f4, 1/120th of a second. Super low again. Again, I had her dancing. He's dancing too. He just looks like he stopped. Flash froze then. Same exact setup as last time. I had this for one, I don't know why I wrote Octobach. Einstein, Vagabond Mini, another voice activated tripod, super cool assistant, super fly bride, sexy beast of a groom, epic pose and dancing for more epicness. That's the sky. So this is an iPhone picture, what my iPhone took to get this behind the scenes. And then this is the shot that comes out of camera with lights and modifiers and all that. I think this is a little bit edited to get the look. But yeah, so we can see the sky a little bit more, right? Super simple. That's all we're doing. One light. And if you guys can tell, I have that habit of just 45 degrees right on my subject. And we're creating one amazing light off of them. Let's go through a couple more, and then I'm going to change things around a little bit. That's Ronald. This is Oxbow Nature Study. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it has some really gross pond water. And so I put a model in there. He's holding a beauty dish with a Einstein light. And what a beauty dish does is it puts direct, harsh light onto your subject. So a beauty dish has a, they don't have one here, has an additional modifier. So what I want you guys to imagine is a dish right here that comes out, like a bowl, like this. Oh, this is probably easier to do this way. Is a bowl. Now, if I were just to do this and take a picture, it would just narrow down my beam of where the bulb goes, right? Sorry, I know it's in your face. Well, what a beauty dish is, it has another little plate inside. And the flash goes, boom, hits that plate, goes boom, back in, and then goes out. So it goes boom, 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 really, really quickly, speed of light. What that does is it contrasts that light more because it's hitting more reflective surfaces. And what that does is that it gives me all the detail in anybody. They call it a beauty dish. I'm not 100% sure this is positive because I'm filming myself and I don't want to be wrong. I always say a beauty dish is meant for beautiful people. People that you don't have to worry about editing. If somebody has a crooked nose, really weird acne, a lot of stuff, you don't want to beauty dish them because you can Photoshop it, but it's going to show all that detail, all that contrast. Does that make sense? So only for beautiful people. I always say people with really great skin and then symmetrical features. That makes it easier. So my beauty dish is coming down. Super, see how harsh that contrast is right there? He's fairly close to her. We have her doing that. She's playing in there. She probably got something.
Hey, on that shot, did you know what you wanted before you got the beauty dish out, or did you?
Theoretically, yeah. I mean, I knew she was getting. So, my wife Lindsay, who was in here, was my assistant for this wedding. This was in Colorado. She's holding the small one with the 1-speed light only that we had earlier. She's holding it over here. Ran out of battery. All right, we're doing great. You guys doing okay? Okay. Easy peasy. If you guys do need this place, let me know. I have the hookup. This is Riley, 16, available for photo shoots. So guys, all these models in here are amazing, and if you guys are learning or need people to learn with, they are happy to work with you. Just let me know, I'll get you their contact. It's usually a trade shoot is what we call it, so time for time, so you can play. They know how to pose, they know how to model, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just worry about the light. You don't have to worry about light and posing. This is Riley. This was at Hatch. We can tell because of the wall. One light. Now, all right, trick shot. Where is this light coming from? Let's look at her eyeball. Where is this light?
Camera left.
Camera left. Everybody would think camera right. Camera left, so it's coming down, lighting up her hair here. You can see the catch light, lighting this up. This all starts to go dark.
Kind of
That's
see
so
it in her
cool.
eye too,
Yeah.
right?
What?
You can kind of see
Right
it in
there,
her
catch
eye.
light.
Yeah, catch light.
My number one rule in using strobes, catch light. If I don't see the light in somebody's eye, I've messed up, they're dead. Same thing with glasses. Have you guys ever shot somebody with glasses and they have the light? Easiest way to get out of that is think of it as a mirror. There, you're looking at yourself in a mirror. You have to move the light so you do not see the light in the mirror, and that's all you have to do. So if she had glasses, this may have shown up inside of the little square would have shown up in there. I would either use a grid to narrow down my beam, or just move the light a little bit more to the side. Super simple. This is honestly a really easy shot. Really easy shot. GSR. Amy and Aaron. We had a sec. My assistant is somewhere in here, hiding, and I'm on the ground, shooting up. I'm on the ground because I wanted to hide the softbox a little bit more. The background was kind of lame. I was actually trying to get this out of the picture, but then it was too much for me to edit, so I got lazy. So I do this shot a lot with natural light. This was at Somerset, 8 p.m. in December of last year, so not, it was like actually 2015. I do this shot a lot. She had a veil. He was ready to party and drink. She wanted a couple more pictures, so we just used a strobe instead of natural light because it was pitch black outside and it was freezing. So I'm shooting through a tunnel of veil. So I have the veil kind of over me like this, and I'm inside and I'm moving around. My assistant's over here holding part of the veil, but the light's coming down like this, and you can see the little catch light in the eye. What does it mean when the catch light's smaller opposed to when it's bigger on the eye? What does that mean?
Further away?
Yeah, the smaller so it's a good way to tell for contrast. The further away, it's either a smaller modifier or the light's farther away. Either or, it means the exact same thing. The farther away the light source is, the more contrasty it is, and that can be because it's small or because it's far. The bigger it is, it's like right in their face.
So cool.
Why does this jump shot work? Why is there no blurring on her?
Because of the flash.
Flash freezes. 100, 100, F8.
Wow.
Power up. This is Nevada. Her name's Nevada,
That's
not
cool.
Nevada. She's Nevada, lives in Nevada. She's from Florida. I think so. Nevada, if you're watching, I think you're from Florida. Cool story. High speed sync. But this is a flash. Notice there's nothing in her eyeball, or nothing, sorry, in her glasses, no reflection. But if you look at this eye, you can see where the light source is. And this just looks cool and blurry. The wind's blowing. It's high speed sync, which means my f-stop. Theoretically, my f-stop lower, my depth of field is better, so I can get the blurriness where I need to. This was under the alleyway by Hatch. I just walked somebody outside. In studio, the background was a gray piece of paper that somebody didn't roll up right, so it was ripply. And I was like, I'm using this because I bought this. But where's my light, guys? Look at her eyes. Where's my light?
Camera right,
Is it a circle light, square light? What do you guys think?
circles.
2 levels of diffusion because this is super soft right here, right? Guys, this is such an easy portrait.
It's really soft.
Guess what my settings are for this? On my camera.
F8, 800, 100.
I'm a simple dude. I live simple life.
One light.
One light. One light, straight on, just like this. Boom, done. Her husband, she just got married recently, is a photographer as well. A budding photographer. Actually, he's pretty good. I don't know, but he just has a side job, or a regular job. This is a trick one, okay? I know I said everything was one light. Theoretically, she's being lit with one light. But what I'm not telling you is that the backdrop is actually a giant softbox instead of a white piece of paper. So at Hatch, we have these massive softboxes. I have her standing in front of one. But without looking at that, and you can tell because of how it's lit right here,
Yeah,
like the edges.
and her hair. is
Yeah.
back there.
So it kind of looks, so Savage, the paper company, and we'll grab one of these for Hatch as well if you guys want to use them. It has translucent paper, which is like a transparent paper. If you put a flash behind it and shoot it, it'll create this effect. So it's just like wax paper, almost, and if you took a flashlight and shine it through wax paper, it'll give that like glow effect. They make it now. We've done this with softbox for years. You know, they're just selling more things. But one light, you can tell by her eye coming down here. This is Lindsay Christensen. She doesn't live here anymore, and I'm super upset. But she's amazing balls. Look at her eyebrows, though. I didn't even do that. Like, that's not even me at all. This is Emerson again. Our bum shoot is what we called it. Where's the light?
Camera right.
This is a trick because she's not wearing lenses in her glasses. Which, so what I've always, I have this little tips email that I send out to my clients before, and one thing in there says, hey, if you have an opportunity to go to a place where you bought your glasses and get frameless glasses that match what you wear normally, that would help me a ton, but you don't have to. So suggest that to them so that way they can come without any lenses and you don't have to have that battle. But they still, you know, people without, they should always wear glasses. People that wear glasses and all of a sudden don't look weird sometimes, right? Because I do both, but now, you know, if I wear glasses, you guys will be like, he looks weird. Gray backdrop, super simple. Settings.
F8, 100, 100.
Cake, delicious cake. This is Megan Burke, Getaway Tahoe magazine, in the elevator at Hatch. She has underwear on. Where's my light? Now tell me about this light. This has been different. Tell me about this light. What would you guys deduce off of this light? Is it a big light, small light?
I think it's got a grid on it,
Good. How do you know that?
because it's more focused, more narrow.
It's not hitting
Yeah, sure.
all this, right?
Right.
It's not even hitting this backdrop that much.
Yeah.
So it's a gridded light. It's this. It's Hatch's version of this. The strip box with the grid. And it's on her face. Kind of like this. I always put the middle of the softbox where my subject is. We call it the hot spot. And everything else goes from there. So if I want to focus on their eyes, which I always do, then the softbox is like right here, not right here. A lot of people will do this, the top. I never do that. It's like the middle, and it goes right there. Right here, and so forth.
Is
And
it
it'll go-
farther away from her?
It is farther
Because
away.
it looks,
And it's looking farther away because it's more contrasty, right? Like we're seeing, look at this contrast here. Like it's hitting here, but it's bouncing through here and hitting here. She's not like huge chested, so there's not like a mountain. But like even here, it's hitting this, and then barely hitting that. We know that because it's contrasty, farther away, grid, no, little to no filters inside of it. Pretty simple. You guys are doing awesome. Let's go a couple more. All right, I wanted to get to this. This is Felicia. Before Felicia and Joey. They're dating. Look at her eyes. What do you guys see?
It's round.
It's a ring.
Oh, yeah.
So we used to have a ring light at Hatch. and somebody borrowed it forever. What a ring light is you guys have seen these all the time. This is not it, but basically a ring light is a hole, and then it goes around. You put your camera through. A lot of people use them. They have one here made for beauty videos, beauty stuff like that. The ring light flash is more powerful. But what I did with this is I set my camera to f2, put the power really, really low, so that I can just focus on her eyeball, and everything else goes blurry. This is a modified version of high-speed sync, but not high-speed sync. It's just a really low-powered flash. Focused on her eye, got some freckles out. Amazing shot, but I'm shooting directly through a light. So I have my camera inside of here, and it's a ring light. Policy Buff, they sell them, they're about $200 to $400. I'm pretty sure they have a couple here. But amazing, amazing thing. If you guys look at any Maxim shoots where there's a picture of a model being shot and there's a shadow that goes around them that mimics them on the wall exactly, it's because of a ring light. It's shooting directly at them, and then the light's just not hitting certain parts. So if you look at a weird, Maxim does all the time, a lot of the catalogs, I did it for a long time and I got bored of it.
Oh, very cool.
Why is this a silhouette?
Because of the right behind.
The background is brighter than the foreground. This is a tricky one though, right? Inside is pitch black, but I have a light hitting them. They're right there, gets them silhouette, but then all of a sudden outside, the exposure is still a bright sunny day. So it's just a fun thing inside. You can do this in a barn. You can either do it in a barn and be in the barn, or just get out of the barn. You can do it in a house, in a tunnel. So imagine being in a tunnel, and if you guys are all in the tunnel together, you get this cool silhouette, but then if you get out of the tunnel and shoot the outside where it's sunny, you'll get this look. Just moving back.
Okay, so the flash is against the wall.
Right
It's
there.
aimed towards the wall. Okay,
It's like behind her.
okay.
It's like hitting right here, shooting up, and
At
this is
first
actually
I
just a
thought
speed light.
You had like a translucent,
No, and this is,
backdrop thing.
no, this is there, no, God, no, I'll never bring that, are you crazy? I bring nothing. Like, hold on, let me just unroll this.
Yeah.
No, this is like the wood, this is a barn, this was some hay that was down there, I'm pretty sure somebody was living there. This is across the street from the Grove, it's a mortuary office, not an actual, like, they don't do the mortuary stuff. I think that's all of them. Cool. All right, I'm gonna leave, set that up. All right, so we have a few more minutes left in this workshop. What questions can I answer? Anything that you guys are confused about? Anything you guys are what-ifing? Anything like that?
For me, Jeramie, it would be the settings in the camera when you're using the flash.
What did I say earlier? What do you think? I'm a simple dude.
I'm sorry, as far as, when you go into the manual,
Mhm.
right? For, where the camera's talking actually to the flash.
Right.
Because I think mine was set on TTP also, and I had
So, and
that
that's why.
problem.
So you're letting your flash think. So imagine like if I were to set my backdrop to one stop under, your camera, even if it's manual, it's one stop under, showing one stop under. If you took that picture, everything will be one stop under, it'll be awesome. But if you're adding a flash on TTL, where you're telling it to think,
Right.
the flash is going, all right, well, it's one stop under. They must not have enough room on their camera to make it correct. Let me make it correct. And you don't want the flash to make it correct. So my flash is always on manual. I control everything. And it's easy enough for me to, for you to put a picture of me, or, you know, put one stop under, take the picture like this. No, that didn't do nothing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's not bright enough. What do you do?
Then you cover that.
Make it brighter.
Mhm.
Make it brighter, or too bright, and so forth. Don't look directly at the light. But that's it. So, so if you guys have noticed, I haven't talked about flash settings at all. And the reason is every flash is completely different. I can't tell you, I'm not going to go in here. The flash was at 1/4 of a power setting. Was I shooting with the Alien Beast 400, 800, 1200? Was I shooting with this? Was I shooting with speed light? The power of the flash doesn't matter. I never look at it. I need more power. And so I always leave it at half. This Interfit one, it's from 2 to 8, but so 5 is the middle. So for some reason that's how they numbered it. Alien Bees, it's a button that goes left and right. It's half power, full power, 1/28 of a power. So I always start at the middle, and if it's too much, and I start at the middle because it gives me room to play. If I start all the way up high, and all of a sudden I'm more brighter, then I have to like figure out what I have to do. Does that make sense? So the power doesn't matter. Just know that if you max out your flash every single time using a speed light, you're gonna want to invest in something a little more powerful. You're gonna be like, I've noticed I just don't have enough power, and it's not because it's you, it's just because you don't have enough power. So then going to this, that speed light right there probably costs like $300 to $400. I can't remember.
It was a gift.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, it was a $300 or $400
I
gift.
know.
Somebody hooked you
It
up.
was a nice one.
Nobody gets me that. This one's $700, and this would be like 5 of those. So that's when you get to the point where you're like, am I ready for that? And it will just make jobs easier. I've always said photography is never about gear. I can shoot with anything. We can all shoot with anything. If I gave you guys an iPhone, you would be better at composition than giving it to this dude out here that was yelling at me when I walked up. Better composition because of that. But having better gear just makes it easier to do your job. Does that make sense? Any other questions? What did we learn?
You guys never talk about the meter, that where you can check the,
The flash meter?
yeah.
No. So here's what a flash meter does. It tells you what the power is coming out of your flash based on the settings. So with a flash meter, and I have one, I just don't use it. You stand right here, I'm the subject, you put the flash meter here and you push, boop, and it tells you what your settings are, but you have to base it off of something. So basically I would set my, I would tell it my shutter's at 1/100th and my ISO's at 100. Boop. Oh, the light that's coming in is f4. Boop. It's coming in at f8. So what happens is that then you set your flash or your settings in your camera to match that, and it gets you the correct lighting. But it gets you the perfect lighting, not the one-stop under lighting, the lighting at proper exposure. There is settings in the new ones where it shows like a 70-30 split, where it says like, if you want to do it at 30%, which is one stop under, because each one is 10% each increment of stop. A lot of questions. But each one theoretically is 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%. Moving your shutter up 1, 2, 3, goes all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same with your f-stop. Cameras are all built on 3s. That's all it does. It just tells you that. But again, it's numbers. I don't need to know numbers. Yeah, and in a studio setting, it would tell you what each, if you're like, I need this to come at f8, and it's if you knew that. Like if you're shooting a headshot of me, and you need this light to come at f8, you have a kicker light coming here that needs to be at f4, because you did that before, and you needed a soft light to come in here at f4, then basically you would just push that button and adjust the light until this shows f4, 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 lower, lower, f4, f4, f8. It's just too much work. It's old school thinking, it's film thinking, because every shot you took was $1. We live in the digital age. You can mess up all you want. Mess up as much as you want, and then you figure it out. That's how I found my f8, 100, 100. I did that, and then all I have to do is just up and down my light. If this is too bright, lower it. I don't need it. And then I used to have to walk up to my clients and be like, come on, brighter side. Cool. Oh, shit, my bad. And they're like, what do you, like, you don't tell them, you're just like, got it. Cool. But I had it at the first studio, and Einstein has a cyber sync with a flash meter built in, and Sayconic makes a bunch of them. But yeah, people are like, what's that for? I'm like, I don't even know, bro. It's just doing, but yeah, I mean, you can probably go on an app store and then look up light meters, and they have free ones, and that'll tell you the natural light. It's just cool, so you set your settings to whatever, and then you just push it in the direction that you're shooting, and then it'll tell you. But play with that if you want, but you don't need it. They're $300 and $400. Get another light. Get some more batteries. Did they close the store? Are we still? What time does the store close?
I think it's like 6.
They told me what time to be here. Well, somebody's just hanging out. Thank you guys. So you can find us at Hatch Lab. All the money that was made today, half goes to them, half goes to the lab. And then I'm going to try to teach these every couple weeks here, and then we'll be teaching workshops at Hatch as well. We have our new studio that we're moving into.
And where is it?
It's off of Wells and Broadway, kind of by El Marketon, Speedy Burritos, off Wells. Closer to the Plum side.
Speedy Burritos, pretty much all of Wells, where is it?
That's all I know. The only reason I hit up Speedy Burritos. Only time I go on Wells. Yeah, but it's, you know where Marketon is? The giant restaurant used to be like the Kings, whatever. I don't know what it was. Yeah, behind. We're right behind them. But we have a new studio, finishing construction, and we move in on, well, we're in there now, but we officially open on the 1st.
So did you move out of the other, or is this in
Moving out
addition to? Oh, you are.
Yeah, so we're moving on now. They're going to rebuild the building, and then we might be going back, but I'm not telling anybody that. Because everybody gets all.
Well, they were gonna do some stuff up.
That's what they were going to do. They didn't, so we decided to move out.
Oh, gotcha.
But now we have new develop. That's it. They kept selling the building, so we have new developers, old developers, new developers. And so now there's new people that are buying it, and they were like, yesterday, are you sure you don't want to stay? I'm like, bro, I signed a lease, you have no heat in here. I'm super cold all the time.
But we might borrow it.
Yeah, so if they do build it out, we're the first, every real estate, commercial real estate needs a portfolio like Hatch to be in their space, because we're the creative, we're the photographers, we're urban, we're cool. And so it helps their price point a lot more when they're trying to sell to other people or sell in the future. Their job always is to build it out, build it up, and sell it for twice as much. Because it's better to sell with tenants in tow than to sell an empty building. So that's all they care about. So whoever builds it now is going to be with us for 3 or 4 years, and then they're going to sell it to somebody else to run it. That's just how they do things. But we might be back in there one day. For now, I had to leave. I had to run away.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jerry.
You guys are awesome sauce. Stay tuned for more workshops.
Yay.
And then if there's anything that you guys are interested in learning specifically, figure out, you can write on the Hatch page, let me know, or tell one of the peoples here.
That thing Carlos was talking about doing was cool. Just getting together and
Yeah, we used to do those on photo walks.
Yeah.
I was doing like photo walks, how Hatch started, open shoots and all that.
Yeah, you guys should do one.
I've been
We're going
on a
to.
photo walk with Craig before.
Yeah,
Similar to that.
same thing. Yeah, we'll take you to a location. So we used to do like Virginia City Highlands, downtown Reno, but really just to get everybody together, walk, shoot. So, now we have cool, or like Midtown would be cool, and we even bring like maybe a couple models that just kind of go with us. So if you want to shoot somebody on a wall,
That would be
then
so.
you can shoot that. Yeah, so it's really just a free event to get people together.
How fun that would be.
Yeah, next to Speedy Burritos is where we do next.
And he said he used to do that thing, 100 shots a day?
So my challenge,
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys know about this, but I have a challenge that I put on YouTube on my channel. Also, if you guys are on the YouTubes, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I have a challenge, a 100 picture a day challenge. Every single day you take 100 pictures, you cull through them. If you get 10 to 15 of those pictures, awesome. You edit those pictures and you upload every single day. It'll make you a better photographer, a faster photographer, a more efficient photographer, and people will actually see that you're doing photography. You'll book more gigs quicker. That's how I started, because people were like, oh, I didn't know you were actually shooting. Like, I post something every day. It could be a picture of a flower. My girl's outside next to like a wood fence that I was having and all that stuff. I would be selfies of me jumping off bricks. I have me like playing with a blow dryer. Like, if you guys go through my Facebook, my personal, and go through like the beginning, you'll see selfies for days of me just doing weird, like mowing the lawn.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. Super surprised.
When is she due?
July 22nd.
Oh,
We're having a baby.